Okay, we're rolling, so I'll just fucking go right into it.
All right, man.
All right, welcome to Good Muscle Radio. First episode. We got some kind of setup going on here. I don't know. Pulled it off of Amazon. Here we are. So for everyone out there, I'm sure most of you have a general idea of Good Muscle, but just for anyone that's just popping in, doesn't know me or anything else, my name is Alex Benjamin, owner, founder of Good Muscle, which is my personal training business and brand. I've been in the fitness industry for about 4.5 years now. Mostly in person, so training people in person, one-on-one. Originally from Emporia, Kansas, built the business and started the business in Emporia, Kansas. Went to Kansas City for a little bit, trained in a box gym, and COVID happened. And I came back, and there's like a whole story there in itself, which maybe we'll get into. Maybe that's another episode, but came back and jumped right back into basically where I left off, and been training ever since. We got Deon on the episode today.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. You want to give a little intro of who you are? And
so my name is Jarrell Deon Mara. I go by Deon now. I'm from Emporia, Kansas. Very proud to be from Emporia, Kansas. Two very hardworking parents, an older sister and a younger sister. Grew up, played every sport because we didn't really have a whole lot of other things to do here in Emporia.
Yeah.
So sports all the way growing up, and then in high school, focused on football, basketball, and track, and I ended up getting a scholarship to go to Oklahoma State University to play football and run track there. Big thank you to the Cowboys. They've afforded me to do so much with my life, and I just can't thank them enough for providing that for me. And I'm not in any debt. They've paid for everything, and it's a wonderful feeling. And I know a whole lot of people out there don't feel, or a whole lot of people don't have that opportunity, and I just want to take the time to thank Oklahoma State for that opportunity. And while I was there, I redshirted my first year, so I was there for a total of 5 years. In those 5 years, I got a marketing degree, a management degree, and an entrepreneurship degree. So we're educated. They afforded it for me to be able to do that. So again, huge shout out to those Cowboys, and it's always a great day to be a Cowboy. I'm telling you, just being around that and playing sports at that kind of level, you learn a lot of things. And I guess where our paths they crossed really early. We just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to school together, and we didn't run in the same circles too much. But what brings us together is just that being healthy and lifting and how to work that into our lives. And I'm thankful for Good Muscle for these last few months, because it's really helped me become the man that I am right now, and it's helped me grow not only my body and my mind, but in the community, because we've have so many connections now. We have so many people moving towards that, and Good Muscle's provided that as well.
Awesome, man. Hell yeah. So what are you about to embark on in your life?
So on Monday, I will be in Berlin, Germany.
Oh.
Yeah. Got to travel across seas, bro.
Okay.
Yep. So my plan over there is to just get connected with people. I'm young. I don't have any kids. I don't have a family. So it's either now or never.
Hey, that's, yeah.
Definitely.
Take advantage.
And it's just, the world's wide open, and we got to go check it out. And there's so many things. There's so many people to meet. There's so many different perspectives on the world. And I'm just here to find out and hear what people have to say. And hopefully what I learned over there I can bring back to Emporia and try to implement it in my community. And that's the big goal, is just to learn and teach what I've been learning.
You think you'll stay out there? Well, you're coming back, but you think you'll go?
I'm coming back, and big thing is right now I'm probably going to run out there, pass out my resume, try to get a job and have them fix my paperwork so I can stay out there a little bit longer, and then ultimately get citizenship so I can have American and German citizenship and then be able to travel back and forth and just kind of open my world up a little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
man. Right on. So you and I met, we started training last year in, is it December or November?
I think it was November, yeah.
November.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with getting ready for rugby, basically, like preparing you for rugby.
Yeah.
So a lot more focus on like strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
You think you'll ever get back in that world again, or you just got open doors, huh?
See, with me, man, I talk to so many people. That's the thing. I talk to a lot of people and a lot of opportunities open up, and it's just picking the right one. But I feel like I'm an athlete still. I'm only 26 years old, so I got like 10 more years of being like prime, like my body's good. And luckily, like I played football, and luckily I haven't had any major injuries to slow me down. And I feel like I still have more to give, and I'm a competitor. I like to compete.
Yeah.
So if I might not be able to play on that level, but I will be competing in something, some way. I'm an athlete, man. You hand me a ball and tell me what to do with it. That's the kind of guy I am.
This guy, I invited him out to a softball game. This guy had never played baseball. Mm-hmm. Never played softball. He's I remember you're like grabbing the bat and you're like, how do I swing this thing?
Yeah.
And he gets up to bat, your first at bat, and you hit a home run.
I'm telling tell me what to do, man. If you teach me what to do, I'll take it there. But you just gotta take your time and teach me how to do it.
This guy. Right on, man. What would you say over like your experience, at the college level, and then going there and experiencing that and coming back in the last year and a half or so, what would you say is your main values and like your principles that you live by, or a combination of those?
The principles that I learned at Oklahoma State is I left Emporia, bright-eyed 18-year-old, saw like being a man. They taught me how to be a man, and that I say that and meaning that there's things that you must do, whether you're out there on the field or not. There's things that carry over into your life where show up early, be there on time, communicate, and ask for help. And usually, if you put in the work, like some time, everything will click, and then you'll be there. But you have to put in the work. Be patient. I'm not so good at being patient. But being patient and understanding that your work is gonna lead you to where you want to be, and that's just showing up every day, being accountable, and doing what's asked of you, and then creating goals and going after those goals, and knowing that there's steps that you have to take to get those goals, and if you're willing to do it, you'll get what you're dreaming about.
I like that. Do you have a process of how you like make goals?
See, I work backwards, so like I think of big picture, and then I find out all the steps it takes to get there. You work backwards, and then you reevaluate. If you're willing to do all those steps, then you just take it bite-sized pieces and move forward. I think a lot of people get discouraged with how much time that it takes to actually get to your goal, but if you are setting a huge goal, all these little goals, and then you take step by step, that's a win every day. And if you live in that world of just little wins every day, you'll get to your goal. Yeah. So think of where you want to be, find out what it takes to get there, and then you have a roadmap.
Dude, that's like when I was in Kansas City, I worked at Lifetime, and big box, like super mall gym, dude. Like spa, cafe, huge pool, like insane. And at the time, like, I had spent so much time and energy into GoodMuscle, like building the brand, like training for a job, like building all the way up to there, and then I left. And like a little piece of me was like, yo, like, what'd you do, man?
Yeah.
Like like, you know, and I mean, everything happens for a reason. So like the trip itself was what I needed, because I came back with like the tools to keep going and to build and to scale and to get to where I am now. But when I was there, I was just like, it was not a pleasant experience for me. It was just rough, and I felt like, you know, like I had spent, I think at that point, like 2.5 years with GoodMuscle, and then I just dipped out, and I just felt like, you know, I'd left something unfinished. You know what I mean? Kind of just like, and I'm always a person, like, I think, like, to be able to, like, sleep at night, like, you gotta fucking go for it, you know, to the point where you, like, you know, if you go for it and you take the risk, you roll the dice, and it doesn't work out, like, at least you can go to bed and you tried.
Right.
You know? And so, like, part of me was like, dude, like, you know, what could have been, like, the shoulds, the coulds, and all that stuff. But I met this guy going through all this stuff mentally, and he basically kind of said the same thing to me. He was like talking to me, and he asked me, would you rather have a Ferrari or a decked out, like, raised brand new Jeep? And I was like, the Ferrari, you know? Duh. And he's like, but I didn't tell you where we're going. And I was like, you know, so like, what? And he's like, well, if we're going to go up the mountains, you're not going to drive that Ferrari, are you? And I was like, yeah, that's true. And he's like, the same thing with, like, with life. So just like you were talking about the map, like, big picture, like, where do you want to go? Because then you know what kind of vehicle you need to take to get there.
Exactly.
So, like, all those little choices is the vehicle. So that was, like, huge, because I was like, dang. It's like, at the time, like, before I left and everything, that was, like, the big thing. It's like, I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I was just, you know, driving a Ferrari in the mountains. A little lost and kind of just, you know, didn't know. And when you don't know where you want to go, and, you know, I think people, like, try and figure out, like, exactly, like, I need to know exactly, you know, down to the, you know, the detail, but it's like, you got to pick a direction, whatever it is. You know, if you want to get this job, okay, that's it then. 100%. And along the way, like, you'll learn. But if we never take the steps, we'll never learn. So, like, people just keep putting it off because they think, like, well, I need to have, like, I mean, look at this setup here, dude. Like, I was like, I want to get a podcast going. And I could have been like, well, we need a soundboard. We need an engineer over there. Like, we need this. And I was like, I don't know what this is.
Hey, it's working, man. I can hear you pretty good.
But I got it. So, yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and to that point, I can tell that you're growing every day, because, like, it's one of those things where when we first started talking, it's like, yeah, I'm figuring this out. And you're one of those people that are willing to get their ass knocked off, learn from it, and then be better the next time. And not a whole lot of people are like that. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I got everything figured out. I've definitely gone into the mountains with the Ferrari. Sure. Sometimes I feel like I'm going into the mountains with, like, a horse and buggy. Sometimes, you know, it's like... Absolutely. But I'm not afraid to go up there. I'm not afraid to get up there and then tell me. I'm not afraid to ask for help. Yeah. And you've been there for me to ask for help. And that also leads me into this next question on how you got to the point, because I feel like whenever I was growing up and later on, it's like nobody really explained to me the PT side of lifting. And I know you see it on Instagram and everything where people are lifting heavy weight, but it may not be the technique. So tell me your process in getting somebody ready to lift with you, because you do it a little differently, and I really appreciate the way you approach things because it's helped me out tremendously.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody has, a level of variability and capacity at, all these different joints. So, like, the shoulder is a ball and socket. So it's like a golf ball and a tee.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's this variability, or you can say, like, the mobility of the joint. There's this almost prerequisite of, like, where the shoulder needs to be if we, like, for example, want to go into, like, an overhead press. Like, if somebody can't lift their arm up without their hand turning in, and I'm like, all right, bet, like, let's get a barbell over your head.
Yeah.
We're just going to break down. So the first thing that I do, even with you, like, you're a high level, very athletic. Like, I know you're mobile.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got power and strength, but I still go through the same stuff. Because there's always, like, on the movement screen side of things. And this is so, like coming from, like, the box gym.
Yeah.
It's so, like, diluted and bullshit. And it's, like, they're like, yeah, just, make them do a TRX squat and then have them do, row. And, like, make them do something really hard for their core. So then you can just speak upon, like, see how shitty your squat is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can, and making all this stupid shit. But, like, for, when I do my movement screen, it's okay. A Thomas stretch, so having someone on a table and just pulling the knee in.
Yeah.
So then they pull that knee in, the other leg. What happens at the other leg will tell us a ton. Okay. So if that leg is, like, way up in the air, and they've already said, yeah, like, my back gives me some, it's kind of tight all the time,
mm-hmm.
and that leg's way up, like, those hip flexors are really tight.
Yeah.
And so then I know, okay, cool. So, like,
mm-hmm.
now, going forward in programming, we can address that problem. And then getting into a 90-90. So one hip's in internal rotation, the other hip's in external rotation. And if most of the time, like, if the internal, that back leg, and people are, like, all hunched out to the side, and they're like, I can't get up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, okay, well, the hip's kind of the same as the shoulder in a way. Like, it's a little bit deeper set in that socket, so it's not as golf ball and a tee, but there's still that variability and capacity that needs to happen. So if, like, people on the internal rotation side, like, they don't have that, then there's a lot of other things. The hip's a little bit harder because there's so much going on. They've got the glute med, like, all this stuff in the back and the front, and so there's a lot of things that influence it. But if we can see, okay, internal rotation's tight, external rotation of the front leg, if that's really tight, something like that, like, then we can address those problems going forward. And then as far as shoulders, I just want to see, like, do people have control of the scapula? Because some people don't even know how to, like, move the shoulders around.
Right.
And, when you go into this box gym and, you get some guy named Tony, and he's like, all right, let's do, like, doing a squat is an expression of function of the hip.
Right.
So it's not an assessment. Like, when you do a squat, like, that's like basically, like, showing us if we have the function to do that movement. If someone can't do that movement, it doesn't say, okay, cool, like, now we can work on the squat.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of, like, regressions that need to happen before that. So that's how I kind of go about everything. And then I take a little look at the core, because I think, like, proximal stability. So if we have stability in our center or the core, then we can have distal stability in the limbs.
Right.
So I always look at that too, because then I can go, okay, if we lack the variability at the hips, we lack variability at the shoulders, the core is really weak, then we have, like, 6, 8, 12, maybe even 16 weeks of programming to, like, build this foundation. So then maybe we can do something with a barbell in the future. But, like, people especially trainers get so, like, attached to the barbell.
Yeah.
And, like, it's I don't think, like, I have a bunch of clients that we haven't even touched one.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much outside of the spectrum of like squat, bench, and deadlift. And a lot of times people just don't have the control or the mobility or the stability to really to make that barbell movement one efficient and safe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I go about things, and it's a lot different, but I found that, you know, people get they feel really good.
Yeah.
You know, going in, I had Kelly, he started, and man, like we're like he's pretty tight. I'll just say that.
Okay.
He's pretty tight. So like Kelly won't ever get under a barbell.
Yeah.
Ever. But he's going to feel really good. He's going to be a lot more mobile. He's going to lose weight, and we can do all that stuff without.
Right.
You know.
And see, that's why I respect the process so much, because I've been a part of places where it's like, okay, no matter where anybody's at, get under that barbell and do like 15 squats. Like, just knowing the fact that you do all this before even moving weight just tells me how much more and educated you are when it comes to the human body and being personal with your people. And I think that's a huge thing that these Instagram stories won't tell you. That's a huge thing that most trainers off the street won't tell you, because you're going to get this guy from GNC that's going to, he's already selling you supplements you probably don't need. He's going to get in the gym and tell you to get under a barbell and it's going to crush you. So that's one thing with GoodMuscle that I respect so much, is that even me coming from the world of moving weight like that, you're still taking time to understand how my body works and how it affects me personally, and that makes me want to lift better, and it educates myself better, because if I know what muscle groups should be firing, then as soon as one of those muscle groups is not firing how it should, I can talk to you, I can communicate with you, and that makes me a better lifter. That makes me stronger, and that makes me smarter about my body, and that's a great thing about GoodMuscle.
Yeah, man. We had a little bit of like pelvic and rib cage for you.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that little tweak.
Yeah. And I think another huge thing, going back to what I've learned, is be coachable. Don't ever go in there thinking that you know everything, and no matter how many years you've been lifting, you can always learn something. And that covers all areas of life. Don't ever go into something. You can always learn something more. And I think once you stop learning, that's when you start dying. Somebody's probably said that a million times. I've heard it a billion times. But always be willing to learn. And if I have a trainer that's living in that area, always willing to learn, then I can trust them that they're going to teach me what they learned. And we're going to learn together, and that's a great thing to have. And I think GoodMuscle, when you promote that, that's how that is. I like the way that you do that.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
So, GoodMuscle, I know we kind of glanced over it, that you started and everything, but why GoodMuscle, and what made you start GoodMuscle? So,
in the very beginning, and this is before like certification, before, you know, trainer, I started going to the gym with a buddy of mine, one of my best buddies, Devin Carlson, and we were doing the Arnold Blueprint.
Yeah.
Fucking right off bodybuilding.com, man. The GOAT program, man.
Yes.
Anybody in the fitness space, I know you did that fucking program. But we were doing that, you know, and at this point in my life, like, I just needed structure, man.
Yeah.
Like, I had been, before all that, like, I mean, I got in so much trouble out of high school, and that's a whole nother story in itself.
Yeah.
But coming out of that, you know, because I hit rock bottom at one point, and it took like, dude, it was like 2.5 to 3 years of just like jumping through hoops, you know, doing the thing, probation, like that whole thing. And like at that point, everything was pretty much just, plugging in. Just plugging in the equation. I had gotten past, a lot of the hard stuff. And it was really easy to fall back into like those old ways, specifically with just drugs and alcohol. There's like nothing to do here, and like if you don't have I don't like the word purpose, because I think it's just so like, I don't know what my purpose is. I'm here to be of service. That's what I know, right? Like we're all here to be of service. I don't, so. But in this town, it's just easy just to fall into those easy things and hang out with the same people. And so the gym and Devin, gave me structure, and I started looking deeper into like nutrition and like eating the right things and putting on muscle and growing, and like that shit was just like I love the process of it, because I think there's a lot of lessons in that, like doing shit every day. Like, like doing those small things, like going to the gym, working out for an hour, going home, eating fucking the beef and rice. Like going through that like on a daily basis is the foundation to reach any goal. Right. You have to do things every day to get to whatever. And so it was like really an important lesson. It gave me structure, and my buddy actually moved to Nashville. Yeah. And so we were like calling each other every week, and we'd be like, yeah, man, like, and we were thinking, and we were like, man, we should start like it's like, you see those group of guys in your hometown that start like a fitness page like that. Like that's how it started. We were like, man, we should do like, we could put like all the stuff on their meals and workouts and motivate people. And so that's like where the idea started. Okay. And then we spent like 3 weeks like, what should we name it? And then somehow like we came to Good Muscle.
Good Muscle, yeah.
And we're like, man, that rings.
I'm sure there's some really bad names that you guys went through, but you don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, so we picked that, and that was the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Did I answer the whole question? Was that the whole question?
Yeah, I mean they're gonna get what they get. But that's interesting. So that process, how has that, being patient, jumping through those hoops, affected you business-wise? Because I know a lot of people want to start a business, and it takes a lot more than just a name and a couple buddies lifting some weights. Absolutely. So could you talk about how those experiences transfer over into the business world?
So so after like the name was picked, like that was the beginning. Like that, nothing was really official. It was just Instagram, really. Yeah. And then fast forward, I met Christine. Mm-hmm. Some of you know Christine, my girlfriend, my current girlfriend. And she, I don't know, dude, like once, and that's a whole other story in itself, but once I locked her down as my girlfriend, I just had this like boost of confidence, and I was like, I'm going to get certified. Yeah. And so that's when I got certified. But like on the business side of things, like I think the most important thing for people that are starting out or that want to do anything with business is like you need to go ask questions. Mm-hmm. Like you got to talk to people that have started a business, right. Because like I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of got lucky starting out with training to the point where like, because I worked behind the desk at the gym in the beginning, and then like as training picked up, I finally like quit behind the desk and just went training full time. But I had no idea what I was doing. I was writing down like my note, like when someone would pay me, I'd write it down with a pencil and paper and a notepad. And then at the end of the month, I was like, oh, cool. Like I made $1,200 this month. And that's just what I did. That's all I did. And so, I mean, that's like, it's a good start, but going to somebody that has done it and ask questions like, well, how do I do taxes? How do I do this? What's the next step like with business? Do I need, write a business plan? Like figure out like, there's so many little things, those small steps that need to happen. So like everybody has an idea. Yeah, definitely. But when you sit down, like you need to be able to understand like all the little moving components of this machine. Mm-hmm. So like how are you going to make money? One,
Yeah.
you know, because a lot of people are like, dude, this would be sick, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, cool. Like, how are we going to sell whatever it is?
Yeah.
How are we going to make money? Because without money, you don't have a business.
Right.
So, you know, figuring out those things. But I think for me, like, going to Lifetime was what I needed, because that whole business side of things, like, I had no idea what I was doing. So when I went to Lifetime and they were like, all right, here's your, you know, your Excel sheet. This is how you keep track of money. Like, this is how you keep track of your clients. So, like, if your goal is to make $6,000 a month, how many clients is that? And you say, okay, well, you got 7 people training once a week. So you got 7 sessions a week at, you know, whatever the rate is.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows you at the end of the month, like, okay, cool. So you're at 1,000. So what's going to get you to 6?
Yeah.
And then you start like, okay, well, I got to pick up 10 people. And if I do 5 of those at twice a week and then the other 5 at once, that'll take me to 5. So that's like laying all that out, because I was like, whoa, like mind blown. Like, whoa, that's how you track that shit. And like, and then you have a goal, because like, I think a lot of people don't even have like a goal, and it doesn't have to be like super big or like $1 million. Like, don't be unrealistic about it, but like set, like, look at, and you know, some people don't have any numbers, but like have a goal of something, and then what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
So even with like weight loss goals and fat loss, and like everybody that I take on, like when I'm always asking goals and stuff, like some people are just like, hey, like I just want to get in a routine and kind of, I just want to feel better. I'm not really concerned about anything.
Right.
And I always try and dig a little bit in there and say, okay, well, what can we measure? Because what gets measured gets managed. If we don't measure anything, nothing gets managed. And then we're just floating around, never making progress. So, you know, measure, track, whatever your metrics are. I mean, with like online, if you're doing online stuff, like you can look on Instagram and see like how many people look at your stuff. So, I mean, there's metrics that you can, all kinds of stuff, but measure something so that you can have something going week to week to measure progress and talk to people. There's always like, have you ever had a mentor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had
right on.
Great mentors, and some would surprise you. You can get a lot of good information from just about anywhere if you ask.
Yeah.
That's why these, like, your community is, the people you place around you are very important.
Yeah.
Like I got mentors that are running businesses. I got people that are just really good people, and they just inspire me to be better. But yeah, I have a few that really made a huge impact on me.
Yeah, and it's the questions, right? Like,
it's the questions, yeah.
Going to somebody and talking, like, and that's the huge thing. Like I love Emporia, but I feel like there's so many people that just won't ask questions. You know, because I mean, there's a lot of people that I see, you know, trying to do their fitness thing, and not to like, you know, be an ego, you know, guy and think that I'm like the shit or whatever. But like, I have a personal training business, and I've done it. I've been doing this for a long time, and like, I would love to help anybody out.
Right.
So if you're watching and you want to ask questions, you know, I just feel like no one asks questions, and I'm like, like I'm here to help. I would love to, you know, answer questions. There's always like people always ask about personal training and like starting that.
Yeah.
And some people are like, yeah, I'm gonna get this brand going, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of things that lead up to it, so they never ask questions. But I think the most important thing is asking questions and to people that are doing it. Right. You know, because they've already done it. So then you can save yourself, like, bro, you could save yourself like 4 years of grinding just by asking somebody a question.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I think that comes with having grace and having that ability to take yourself out of it and admit to yourself that you don't know everything that you think you do. And just being able to receive it, because I feel like a lot of people talk, but very few listen. Yeah. And like, you got to live in that world where you take every situation and you learn from it. And then if you know what you're talking about, provide that for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you're doing. And I think if you keep on doing what you're doing, I think those people will reach out. They'll see your success, and they will reach out. It might take a little bit.
I think the next step for GoodMuscle we'll kind of put that on the map for everybody.
Okay, definitely. Okay, so tell me what you got going on with GoodMuscle now and next steps these next couple months.
Cool. And we got like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then okay.
Gotcha.
So I don't know when this is gonna drop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna fucking say the whole thing.
Hey, just go ahead, dude. This is your fucking podcast. Do what you want to do.
So last year came back from Kansas City around end of June, I believe, like early July. Jumped back into training. I mean, I had gotten my bank account down to like my last couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like we got to figure out because KC is expensive. So it's like, we're going to stay here, we're going to go. And so I decided to come back and kind of, at first it was, I think, the main thing I said was like, I'm going to come back, get back on my feet.
Yeah.
But I think really like I wanted to give GoodMuscle another, like give it what it was meant, take it where it was meant to go.
Yeah.
And so we came back, I jumped back into Emporia Fitness, started training again, picked up a lot of the people that I was training before I left. Like they jumped right back in, had a bunch of new people. Like I came back and we had her aunt's wedding. And so like the first week I was just kind of like scheduling consults. And then the next week, dude, I had like a whole week of consultations. And then the week after that, just like sessions.
There we go.
And I grinded through that year, and my goal was like I just want to get to like 20 to 30 sessions a week. And I got to like 30 real fast, and then I got to 40, and then going into like December, and because of COVID, like no one went anywhere.
Yeah.
So like usually during Christmas and Thanksgiving, people go see family, they go on vacation. Everyone stayed. So like going into December, I was getting over 40 hours, and then going into January, February, March, it was just like insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started training. We lived at her parents for like Christine's parents, for those that are like, what? We stayed in her parents' house for like 4 months or something like that. And so I was just putting paper away.
Yeah.
And then we moved out, and I was still just putting paper away. Like I've always kind of been like that with money, just like I'm just gonna put this away.
You're
like,
a lot better
and I live within your means.
Yeah.
Like I've never been the guy to flex or anything like that. Like like to buy new shoes. Like I drove a Honda CRX for 60 years. It damn near fell apart on the way back here.
Yeah.
So I was putting paper away, and then I always wanted to open a private training facility. Like I actually looked at my journal today, dude.
Yeah.
Earlier today, and there's an entry from last year in May.
Yeah.
And it was like right there written like open private training facility.
Yeah.
And at that time, I mean, I was pretty broke.
Mm-hmm.
But it was written down, and I was like, damn. And so coming into this year, like earlier this year, I was looking at places on commercial, trying to figure out if I could buy a place. And like commercial, there's some lofts above on the building, so it's like if I could buy it and like live upstairs, have the facility in the ground floor. And it's a big project and a big goal, and things kind of have to align. And so it's one of those things where and I like to say I'm pretty patient. I think I'm pretty patient, but I just didn't want to do anything emotional. Like I try and separate like emotion and just rational, like just making decisions like that, because I tend to do that sometimes. So I try and just like, okay, let me think about this, and then instead of just like let's do it, like just really thinking about it. So I was really patient, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this and it's gonna succeed, like things need to be the right way. Like things need to be the way I want them to be. And then I started training you.
Yeah, man. This is the good part.
And then going into this year, like what, February maybe? I think we were just talking, and I was like, man, like it'd be awesome. Like this is what I'd like to do. I'm looking at a couple spots, And then what, like maybe 2 months ago, maybe something like that. You're like, hey, me and my buddies rent out this. Basically, it's like an automotive shop, is what it used to be, like a big garage with high ceilings and just fucking wide open.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and I'll have to explain everything that happened. Then continue. Yeah,
okay. And then so you're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, this may just be it.
Yeah.
And so the place, lockdown. Okay, like thought about it for a while. Yeah. Let it marinate. Looked at another place, and I was like, yeah, I want that spot. Yeah. And so then the next step was getting the loan approval, which is a whole nother fucking thing. I won't go into it. But anyways, things went through. Everything's good. So probably 2 months from now, somewhere around there, like GoodMuscle HQ will be real, live. Yes. Top of the line, like equipment. Only the best of the best. I mean, it's the culture. Like I'm trying to bring a culture, a vibe. Like not just like let's look like Arnold, but let's feel better. Let's get healthy. Let's get the community healthy. Like I want to get involved. But yeah, so that's on the horizon.
Yes, man. And I'm so glad that we actually got together. And I know things don't happen by chance. We were supposed to come back and this was supposed to happen. I'm glad that it's going to somebody that I trust. And it's a good space. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do with it. And I'm telling you, everything's happening. We just got to be patient and talk. And like, this wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have communicated. We wouldn't have got back together and done these things. And that just goes to show that, like, if you take your time with your community, you take your time and get to know people, there's so much that could be accomplished. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that. We got together. And I know you kick my ass every Friday, and I'm still not forgiving you for that. But I do look good. I feel good. And it's thanks to GoodMuscle, and I really appreciate what you're doing, and I'm excited to see what you do.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Right on.
Thanks for being on the show, brother.
Of course.
First episode.
Of course. I'll be back.
Right.
I will be back. There's a lot of things to explain. I will be back, but this is just a start, and our setup is pretty damn good so far. Yeah, but I think we will get better. We will progress, and this podcast will get better. I promise.
Amen.
All right.
Peace and love.
Peace out. Peace out.